Newly declassified documents show links between the 9/11 hijackers and Saudi nationals with connections to the Saudi government.
There before me were some either dead or gravely injured people laying on the ground.
Hopefully we'll put to rest some of the conspiracy theories about September 11th. Also, it's important that there be a complete record for history.
Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
More than 2 decades after the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, unanswered questions and hidden details still haunt the world. From suspicious intelligence failures to mysterious financial movements and eyewitness accounts that don't align, there's a side to 9/11 they don't want you to question. In this video, we peel back the layers and reveal the most controversial secrets and suppressed facts surrounding that fateful day. Tower 7, the collapse that changed everything. Most Americans can name the Twin Towers, but few even know about World Trade Center Building 7. It wasn't hit by a plane. And yet, at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th, 2001, it completely collapsed in freefall speed, straight down into its footprint, like a controlled demolition. Here's the kicker. The 9/11 Commission report doesn't even mention it. Officially, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, claimed that fires brought it down. But engineers, architects, and demolition experts around the world have called this explanation impossible. How does a 47-story steel skyscraper fall due to fire alone? That's never happened before or since. And then there's the BBC, who reported that WTC-7 had collapsed.
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this.
20 minutes before it actually did, while it was still standing in the live broadcast shot behind the reporter. Coincidence? Or was someone feeding scripts too early? NORAD's mysterious paralysis. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, has protocols in place for hijacked planes. Protocols that had been tested dozens of times before.
I think in a state of shock and wandering around on the 92nd floor when that particular announcement was made that the South Tower was secure and that you could stay put.
Scrambling fighter jets to intercept off-course aircraft is routine. So why did 4 commercial planes fly unchallenged for over an hour through the most protected airspace in the world? Even stranger, NORAD was running simulation drills that very morning, involving hijacked planes crashing into buildings. Some of these drills were so realistic that air traffic controllers were confused about which incidents were real. Let that sink in. The very scenario they were practicing was unfolding for real, and response teams were paralyzed by coincidence or coordination. Insider trading. Who knew beforehand? In the days before September 11th, there was a surge in put options, bets that a stock will fall, placed on United Airlines and American Airlines, the very carriers hijacked in the attacks. These trades were 600% above normal volume, and the investors profited massively when the airline stocks collapsed. Suspicious? Absolutely. An investigation was launched, but it quietly fizzled out. No one was charged, no identities were revealed. The 9/11 Commission acknowledged the trades but dismissed them as coincidental. Despite the profits remaining untouched and the traders never facing scrutiny, why? In a moment when every lead should have been pursued relentlessly, this one, which clearly suggested foreknowledge, was conveniently swept aside. If someone bet millions on a tragedy and walked away untouched, how is that not a red flag? It demands deeper investigation, not silence. The Pentagon strike. Where's the plane? A Boeing 757 crashes into the Pentagon. That's the official story. But take a look at the security footage. You'll notice something bizarre. There's no clear image of a commercial jetliner, and the damage to the building doesn't quite match what you'd expect from a 100-ton aircraft. The initial hole in the building was about 20 feet wide, wingspan of a 757, around 125 feet, tail height over 40 feet. Where are the wings, the engines, the massive debris? Even more suspicious, multiple security cameras were confiscated by the FBI within minutes from nearby businesses, hotels, and gas stations. To this day, only a few frames of grainy footage have been released. If a commercial airliner really hit the Pentagon, why not just show us the tapes?
Furniture, and you have this force coming through there. It's taking all of that furniture and people and everything.
Left the building through what's called the mall entrance, and first thing you could see obviously is smoke and flame.
Osama bin Laden, the convenient villain. We were told Osama bin Laden masterminded 9/11 from a cave in Afghanistan. But it gets complicated. First, he denied involvement multiple times in interviews shortly after the attacks. Then, a grainy video appeared months later, showing him laughing and supposedly confessing.
The US government has committed acts that are extremely unjust, hideous, and criminal through its support of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And we believe the US is directly responsible for those killed in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq.
Experts in Germany and Egypt questioned the video's authenticity, even pointing out that the man in the footage didn't quite look like bin Laden. Also, consider this. The FBI's own most wanted page for bin Laden never listed 9/11 as part of his charges. When asked why, the FBI stated they had no hard evidence connecting him to the attacks. Let that marinate. The guy we went to war for wasn't even officially charged for 9/11. The passport that survived the inferno. This one's hard to believe. Amid the total destruction of the Twin Towers, steel melted, concrete pulverized, and planes incinerated, a paper passport allegedly belonging to one of the hijackers was found intact on the street. Not burned, not torn. Pristine. Meanwhile, the plane's black boxes, built to withstand extreme impacts, were either destroyed or mysteriously never recovered. How did a flimsy passport survive what nothing else did? Even mainstream outlets expressed skepticism at this so-called miracle find, yet it was quickly used to identify the hijackers and support the official story. It feels far too convenient. In a moment when evidence was scarce, this suspiciously perfect piece of identification dropped into investigators' laps like a prop. Was it just luck, or part of a carefully managed narrative? The public deserves to question such improbabilities when they're used to justify wars and reshape the world. The Saudi connection, redacted and protected. 15 of the 19 9/11 hijackers were Saudi nationals, yet Saudi Arabia faced no real consequences. Instead, the US government appeared to shield the kingdom. For years, 28 classified pages from the 9/11 Commission report raised suspicion. When finally declassified, they revealed troubling links between Saudi officials and the attackers, financial support, housing, and direct contact with known extremists. Still, no Saudi official was charged or extradited.
Newly declassified documents show links between the 9/11 hijackers and Saudi nationals with connections to the Saudi government. The information comes from a 2016 FBI report that summarized an investigation called Operation Encore. The document had been kept under wraps.
In a baffling pivot, the US chose to invade Iraq, a country with no proven ties to 9/11. This decision led to immense loss of life, destabilization of a region, and lasting consequences for American foreign policy. So, what was the war really about? Justice, oil, or strategic power? The refusal to confront Saudi Arabia's alleged involvement raises serious questions about the integrity of US priorities and the true motivations behind the so-called war on terror. Was it ever really about keeping America safe? Firefighters heard explosions and then were silenced. Dozens of firefighters, first responders, and survivors reported hearing secondary explosions in the Twin Towers before and during their collapse. Many described hearing boom 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 sounds, similar to controlled demolitions. These were trained professionals, not conspiracy theorists, offering first-hand accounts in the midst of chaos. The New York Fire Department collected over 500 oral histories after 9/11, many containing vivid descriptions of explosive events. Yet these testimonies were sealed from the public for years. When finally released, major media outlets largely dismissed or ignored their contents. Why were the words of those on the ground, the very people who risked their lives, treated as unimportant? Their accounts deserved serious examination, not silence. The dismissal raises uncomfortable questions. Was something deliberately hidden? Why was the official narrative prioritized over direct eyewitness evidence? Ignoring these testimonies isn't just disrespectful, it undermines the pursuit of full truth and accountability. The 9/11 Commission, underfunded, rushed, and lied to. The 9/11 Commission was supposed to give us answers, but the people who served on it later admitted it was set up to fail. The budget for the investigation was only $15 million. Compare that to the $60 million spent investigating Bill Clinton's affair. Commissioners said they were lied to by NORAD, that information was withheld, and that the investigation was compromised by politics. Even co-chair Thomas Keane said, "We were set up to fail," when those who led the investigation say it was bogus. Shouldn't that worry us? These aren't just fringe questions. Engineers, pilots, intelligence officers, and family members of victims have all raised concerns, and many are still demanding answers. If we truly honor the lives lost on that day, shouldn't we demand the full truth? The official story may be set in stone, but the shadows behind 9/11 still spark doubt, debate, and deep unease. As long as documents remain classified and questions go ignored, the truth will remain buried. What do you believe really happened on that day? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you're asking the hard questions, and subscribe for more fearless deep dives.